Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Come on, I can't hear you. Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jai Krishna Jaya Krishna Krishna Jai Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Jai Krishna Jaya Krishna Krishna Jai Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Jai Krishna Jaya Krishna Krishna Jai Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Jai Krishna Jaya Krishna Krishna Jai Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Jai Krishna Jaya Krishna Krishna Jai Krishna Jaya Shri Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya
Janmasthav Ki Shri Krishna Janmastami Mahamahotsav Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. Now I was forgetting that some of you may be fasting today, and hence why you may already be feeling a little bit tired. Put your hands up if you're fasting today. Okay, put your hands up if you're fasting from grains. Okay, put your hands up if you're fasting from all food today. Put your hands up if you're doing nirjala, you're fasting from all food and all water. Put your hands up if you're not even going to break the feast at 12:30. No, I'm just joking. So don't worry. The thing to do is to try and absorb our thoughts and our minds in Krishna, and we will forget all about the fact that we're fasting, and then the night will go faster, and before you know it, it will be time. Actually, the reason that we fast is so we can spend less time thinking about ourselves and engaged in bodily maintenance, so we have more focus upon Krishna. But if we find that through fasting we're just thinking about ourselves and our body more, and we're getting a bit maybe angry or ratty, then it might be better just to drink some water or something like that. Okay, so we're going to read tonight a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam which explains all about Lord Krishna's appearance. So if you can please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is a verse, or a series of verses, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, chapter 3, and these are texts 1 to 5. The chapter is entitled The Birth of Lord Krishna. So if you have a phone, you can always look up the Veda base, and you can type in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 3, texts 1 to 5. If you don't have that, you can just listen to me. Okay, I'll just read the Sanskrit myself and then we'll read the translation. Shri Shuka Uvacha Atasava Gunopeta Kala Paramashobana Yahivajana Janmaksham Shantakshagra Tarakam Tisha Prashedu Gaganam Nemalodu Ganadayam Mahimangala Puyishta Puragrama Prajakara Natya Prasana Shalila Radha Jala Ruhushriya Twijali Kulasanada Stavakava Narajaya Vavo Vayu Sukasparsha Punyaganda Vahashuchi Agnayascha Twijatinam Shantas Tatra Samindata Manam Syan Prasanani Sadunam Asura Churham Jayamane Jane Tasmin Nedu Dundu Bayasamam. Okay. Translation. Thereafter, at the auspicious time for the appearance of the Lord, the entire universe was surcharged with all the qualities of goodness, beauty, and peace. In stark contrast to the atmosphere in Newcastle. All the qualities of goodness, beauty, and peace, not a police siren in sight. The constellation Rohini appeared, as did stars like Ashvini. The sun, the moon, and the other stars and planets were very peaceful. All directions appeared extremely pleasing, and the beautiful stars twinkled in the cloudless sky. Decorated with towns, villages, mines, and pasturing grounds, the earth seemed all auspicious. The rivers flowed with clear water, and the lakes and vast reservoirs full of lilies and lotuses were extraordinarily beautiful. In the trees and green plants, full of flowers and leaves, pleasing to the eyes, birds like cuckoos and swarms of bees began chanting with sweet voices for the sake of the demigods. A pure breeze began to blow, pleasing the sense of touch and bearing the aroma of flowers. And when the Brahmins engaging in ritualistic ceremonies ignited their fires, according to Vedic principles, the fires burned steadily, undisturbed by the breeze. Thus, when the birthless Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was about to appear, the saints and Brahmins, who had always been disturbed by demons like Kamsa and his men, felt peace within the core of their hearts, and kettle drums simultaneously vibrated from the upper planetary system. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that His appearance, birth and activities are all transcendental, and that one who factually understands them is immediately eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord's appearance or birth is not like that of an ordinary man, who is forced to accept a material body according to his past deeds. The Lord's appearance is explained in the previous chapter. He appears out of his own sweet pleasure. When the time was mature for the appearance of the Lord, the constellations became very auspicious. The astrological influence of the constellation known as Rohini was also predominant, because this constellation is considered very auspicious. Rohini is under the direct supervision of Brahma, who is born of Vishnu, and it appears at the birth of Lord Vishnu, who in fact is birthless. According to the astrological conclusion, besides the proper situation of the stars, there are auspicious and inauspicious moments due to the different situations of the different planetary systems. At the time of Krishna's birth, the planetary systems were automatically adjusted so that everything became auspicious. At that time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. Auspicious stars were visible in the sky and on the surface in all towns and villages or pasturing grounds, and within the mind of everyone there were signs of good fortune. The rivers were flowing full of water, and the lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers. The forests were full with beautiful birds and peacocks. All the birds within the forests began to sing with sweet voices, and the peacocks began to dance with their consorts. The wind blew very pleasantly, carrying the aroma of different flowers, and the sensation of bodily touch was very pleasing. At home, the Brahmins, who were accustomed to offer sacrifices in the fire, found their homes very pleasant for offerings. Because of disturbances created by the demoniac kings, the sacrificial fire had been almost stopped in the houses of Brahmins. Excuse me. But now they could find the opportunity to start the fire peacefully. Being forbidden to offer sacrifices, the Brahmins were very distressed in mind, intelligence and activities. But just on the point of Krishna's appearance, automatically their minds became full of joy because they could hear loud vibrations in the sky of transcendental sounds proclaiming the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On the occasion of Lord Krishna's birth, seasonal changes took place throughout the entire universe. Krishna was born during the month of September. So you might be wondering why we're celebrating it in August, right? He was born in September. Well, Of course, we run with the solar calendar, which is a little bit out of sync with the lunar calendar. But at that time it was September. Yet it appeared like springtime. The atmosphere, however, was very cool, although not chilly, and the rivers and reservoirs appeared just as they would in Sharat before. Lotuses and lilies blossomed during the day, but although Krishna appeared at 12 o'clock midnight, the lilies and lotuses were in bloom, and thus the wind blowing at that time was full of fragrance. Because of Kamsa's disturbances, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies had almost stopped. The Brahmins and saintly persons could not execute the Vedic rituals with peaceful minds, but now the Brahmins were very pleased to perform their daily ritualistic ceremonies undisturbed. The business of the Asuras is to disturb the Suras, the devotees and Brahmins. But at the time of Krishna's appearance, these devotees and Brahmins were undisturbed. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksharum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Vallabha Dāsa Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantika. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Now everyone, all together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that was quite a long verse, or series of verses and purports. But we will try to expand a little bit upon these wonderful verses describing the appearance of Lord Krishna. So, put your hands up if you have read the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Well, there's a lot of you who haven't read the Bhagavad Gita, so I suggest today, if you haven't read a Bhagavad Gita, please buy a Bhagavad Gita from our shop, take one home and read one. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains that his appearance, birth and activities are transcendental, and that one who understands factually will be transferred to the spiritual world. Does anyone who has read the Bhagavad Gita know that verse? And would they like to let us know what verse that is? Very good. And Dan and Jai, would you like to give us the translation of the verse, roughly?
One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not take birth again, but attains my abode or something.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Does anyone know for a bonus point what verse number that is? 4.9. Round of applause for Vasu Shresht. Srila Prabhupada said we should know Bhagavad Gita like a lawyer knows the law books. Like that. Even if you just read one verse a day, there's 700 verses. Even if you just read one verse a day, you can read, I guess, in 2 years, right? 365 days. You'll do it in a little under 2 years. So please, buy a Bhagavad Gita, take it home and read it. It will change your life. Not only this life, but your next life and the next life. Please everyone come a little bit further forward, especially ladies on this side, because people are going to be coming in throughout the program. So yes, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yogati Tatvata Chakvadeham Pranam Jamma Naitimam Eti Surjana. So Krishna says that his birth and activities are transcendental, divya. They're divine. It's not an ordinary birth in this material world. So I looked up the Cambridge dictionary definition of something which is transcendental. And the dictionary said a transcendental event or idea or experience is something extremely special. Not just special, but extremely special. And it cannot be understood in ordinary ways. So how do we generally understand something? Someone give me a volunteer an answer. How do we usually understand something? Nikunj.
Ask a question, listen to the answer, or research.
Ask a question, listen to the answer. That's a good point, because we might ask a question, but then we don't listen to the answer. Who's ever experienced that before? Someone asks you a question and you try and give them an answer, but they've already got their own answer in their minds. Are you pointing to... Actually, children, by nature, they like to ask questions. You know, my children right now, that's all they're ever doing, you know, asking questions. But why? But why? We can hear them next door asking lots of questions. And do some research, yes. How else do we understand something in an ordinary way? I think that pretty much covers it. Nikunj, you've got another one? Look for different sources. Very good. He sounds like he's at university. He's 9. You're 9, right? There you go. He's an intellectual. Gets that from dad, I think. Mum. He gets that from mum. Yeah, so generally when we want to understand something, we might do a little bit of reading. Now you can read the Bhagavad Gita, but just reading the Bhagavad Gita alone... Oh, Kamut, you have another suggestion?
Discuss with devotees and listen to somebody who's really authorized to the discipline sensation.
Yes, well that was the transcendental answer. Yeah, we were just asking in the ordinary ways, but that's very good. We were saying a transcendental experience cannot be understood in ordinary ways. Something transcendental is not ordinary, it's extraordinary. And so yes, like this, we're going to come through to that. We're going to conclude by how we can actually understand the transcendental nature. Because, yes, Lord Krishna's appearance, we don't even say birthday. Right? Sometimes we say, oh, it's Krishna's birthday today. Like I was out distributing books today in Durham, and I was telling people, that's the atmosphere of peace and prosperity. They don't know that it's Krishna Janmashthami. So I was telling people, yes, today is God's birthday. Because they find that a little bit funny. Oh, it's God's birthday. So we were getting them to say, Jai Shri Krishna. And that means happy birthday, God. You know, people find that kind of funny. But actually it's not God's birthday, it's his appearance day. Because God, Krishna, he doesn't take birth like you or I. His appearance is divyam, it's transcendental. He's not an ordinary man, he's an extraordinary man. He is asam urdhva. This means that there's no one equal to him and there's no one beyond him. He's asam urdhva. Nikunj?
So that's what you mean, God's transcendental birthday. Because you can say that, God's transcendental birthday.
You could say it's his transcendental birthday, but the reason we say his appearance day is because he exists before. It's a bit like if we have, like, the sun. The sun rises in the... Anyone know? Where does the sun rise? In the north. It rises in the east and it sets in the west, right? So when the sun rises in the east, is it just being born? Or is it already existing, but it's just below the horizon? It's already there, right? But it appears. So in the same way, when Krishna appears in this material world, he was already existing beforehand, but he's just like the sun, rising in the east and setting in the west. So in other words, he becomes visible, and then he becomes, in one sense, unmanifest, unless we have the transcendental vision to be able to see Krishna. And that's what we're going to be explaining a little bit tonight, how we can understand Krishna and how we can see Krishna. But the point is that Krishna, he is not forced to accept a material body like you or I. Like in chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains how one is forced to take a material body. So I'll just read this briefly. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Now this one's interesting, listen to this. Verse 9, the living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and a sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So in other words, when we take this material body, it is due to our previous karma. So who has ever looked in the mirror and thought, I wished I looked a bit different? Only me. Certainly as we get a bit older and we look in the mirror and we start to see more grey hairs, we think, oh, where has my youth gone? Where has my beauty gone? Or we may look at our nose and think, oh, my nose is a bit wonky, or this ear's a bit low, or, you know. Has anyone ever thought like that? Looked in the mirror and thought, oh, I wish I looked a bit different. Well, I'm afraid we've only got ourselves to blame. It's our own activities. Just as, you know, one carries one's conceptions. It says, as the air carries aromas, we carry our different conceptions and our desires and our karma from one birth to another. So we're given this body according to our own misdeeds. But the thing is, no matter what you look like, even if you have the body of, and my references are a little outdated now, but in the old days, Brad Pitt, right? He was someone that the girls used to fancy. Or, okay, who do the girls fancy nowadays? Someone give me another example. You don't know, Newcastle, okay. Come on, who's a famous, go on, give me a famous Bollywood star. Who's a man that all the women like? Who? Roshan. Hrithik Roshan. I'm sorry, I don't watch Bollywood. Anyway, so even if you're Hrithik Roshan. Anyway, you know who I mean. I don't know who you mean, but you know what I mean. So even if you're him, Mr. Roshan, even if you have a beautiful body, everyone is subject to birth, disease, old age and death. The material body, it is born, it remains for some time, it produces some byproducts, it grows, but then eventually it dwindles and it dies. So even if you're Mr. Roshan, eventually your body's not going to look so good either. Sorry, I thought you had another question there, you're just twirling. So the point is that we are forced to take a material body according to our karma. And therefore the planets are aligned in a particular way. This is the science of astrology, like that. Now when Lord Krishna appears, it says that he appears out of his own sweet pleasure. Krishna is not forced to come to this material world. He is completely independent. Now why does Krishna appear? One time someone asked Srila Prabhupada, why did Lord Krishna appear? And Prabhupada said, who can stop him? Which is quite a funny answer. I mean, who can stop God, right? If God is omnipotent, he's omnipresent, he's omniscient, he's all-powerful, who can stop him? So if God wants to come, who's going to stop him? I mean, this even works a little bit just like on a material platform. Now, if Mr. Roshan, Hrithik Roshan, yeah. Now, if Mr. Hrithik Roshan rang the doorbell right now, there you go. Now, if he wanted to come in, right, now he's a famous person, he's a popular man. I mean, we could stop him if we really wanted. We could say, Prabhu, you're dressed a bit scruffy, this is the temple, the mandir, have you showered today, we could be a little bit cheeky. But still, if someone is powerful or someone is famous, they have some Shakti like that, yes, we would welcome them in. Please, come in. Take a seat, Make a donation, please, make a donation. He's probably quite a wealthy man. Like that. So, who can stop Krishna if he wants to come? But of course, there are two famous verses in the Bhagavad Gita which describe when he appears and why he appears. So I'm going to test you again. Does anyone know either of these two verses, famous verses, again from chapter 4, If you know one of the verses, if you've seen Mahabharata, I'm sure you know these verses. Come on, someone tell me one of the verses. Why does Krishna appear? When does Krishna appear? Yeah, everyone's muttering them. Everyone knows these verses. Yes. Yada yada hidamasya kalane bharati bharata abhutanam adamasya tadatmanam shujamyaham. So this is when Krishna appears. This is chapter 4, text 7. So he says, whenever there is a decline in religion, whenever there's a decline in religious practice, principles, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. And then the next verse, come on, someone tell me the next verse, 4:8. Come on, say it loudly. Vinashaya Chatuskritam Dharma Samstapanataya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Yeah, so then Krishna says to annihilate to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So these verses describe when Krishna appears, whenever there is a rise in irreligion and a decline in religious practice. That's when he appears. And then the reasons why, because he wants to deliver the pious, he wants to deliver the devotees, he wants to deliver all of us, to annihilate the miscreants. I don't think we have any miscreants here. Oh, Kamud, are you a miscreant? You're putting your hands up? Oh, okay, Kamud, she has some natural humility there. I thought it was me. I thought I was the only miscreant. And to re-establish the principles of religion. And then Krishna, of course, speaks the Bhagavad Gita. But the thing is that Krishna, he doesn't need to appear to annihilate the miscreants. He could just send a representative to do that, or some, force of nature, or an expansion. The real reason that Krishna appears is to deliver his devotees. And he does that out of love for his devotees. And we tell this story every year, but it's a nice story. So, who's ever read some of the famous stories of Emperor Akbar and his minister Birbal? Has anyone ever read any of these stories, Akbar and Birbal? So Akbar, he was a Mohammedan ruler, and Birbal, he was a Hindu. Very learned, he was a Pandit, but he was the minister, the prime minister for Akbar. So of course, Akbar, he was from the Islamic tradition, but he was also a learned man, so he would try and understand from Birbal a little bit about, the Vedic tradition. So he would say, in your scriptures it is said that God comes to this world. And Birbal said, yes, that is true. And Akbar said, I cannot accept that. Why would God come to a place like this? Like they say, what's a nice guy like you doing in a place like this? If you're in a rough part of town, some dingy nightclub, Man might say to a woman, what's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this? So what's a nice person like God doing in this material world with police sirens? And you just have to turn on the news. It's never good news, is it? There's so many horrible things going on in this world. So what's a nice person like God doing in this material world? He said, I cannot accept it. So, Birbal, he said no. In our scriptures it said that God comes. Now one day, Akbar, he was walking around his palace grounds, and there was a huge lake, and there was a parade, and his young son, just 5 years old, he was walking by the lake. And at some point, just like this boy here, how old is this boy? How old is he?
He's about to be 5.
He's about to be 5. Oh, same as my son. When's his birthday?
September 23rd.
Oh, okay, yeah, my son's birthday is this Wednesday. He's going to be 5 on Wednesday. And what's his name?
Arjansh.
Arjash. So you can imagine Arjash is wandering by the lake. Akbar is there and his son suddenly falls into the lake. Oh no! The emperor's son has fallen into the lake! Quick! So then the guards, they were all about to jump in. And Akbar himself, he came and pushed all the guards out of the way. Out of the way! And he took off his crown and his cape. And he was just in his smalls. his underwear, and he dived into the lake. He dived down to the bottom and he rescued his son. And he pulled him out of the lake and he had to do like CPR, and his son spluttering, coughed up water, and he was back to consciousness. And then Birbal came over to Akbar and he said, see, now you understand why God comes to this world? And he says, Birbal, what are you talking about? Can't you see I'm in distress? I've just saved my son. He almost died and you're talking to me about God coming to this material world? You choose your moments. I'll have you locked up in jail. And Birbal said, no. He said, don't you see? Your son fell in the lake and you have so many bodyguards, so many personal servants. Any one of them could have jumped into the water to save your son. You didn't have to do it. But out of love for your son, you personally dove into the water and rescued your son. And Akbar, he understood, yes, God doesn't have to come to this material world, but out of love for his children who have wandered off, like children, they have a tendency to wander off sometimes, right? Have you ever been out shopping and then all of a sudden you turn around and your child's wandered off somewhere? Where's my son gone? Children like to do that. So Krishna doesn't have to come to this material world, but out of love for his children who have wandered off, he comes to save them personally. Now this is an interesting point, that one who factually understands the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance, Prabhupada says in the purport, they are immediately eligible to be liberated from this material world. Just by understanding the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance, one is immediately. So this is quite nice. This reminded me of a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 6 and 7. I'll just read this to you. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Prita, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So that person who gives up everything for Krishna, he is the swift deliverer. He doesn't just say, I deliver them, I'm the swift deliverer. What does swift mean? Quick, right? I'm the swift deliverer. Swift deliverer. Immediately, Krishna delivers that person. Yeah, so this is powerful. In other words, if you do something quickly, it's very important to you, right? Things that are not so important, we procrastinate, right? Who's good at procrastinating here? Anyone? Yeah. But when something's important, right? When you're going on holiday, it can take you 3 weeks to pack your suitcase. But when you know that the taxi is coming in 30 minutes, how quick does it take you to pack your suitcase? 20 minutes, right? 10 minutes, right? It's taking you 3 weeks. But I've got to go now. The taxi's going to be here. So if something's important, you do it quickly. So Krishna says he is the swift deliverer. And that person is immediately eligible who can understand the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance. In other words, Krishna wants us to come back to him. Even more than we want to go back to him, Krishna wants us to come back to him. And that's why Krishna appears once every day of Lord Brahma. He's knocking on the door. Come with me. Come back to the spiritual world. And we're like, no, it's okay, Krishna. I'm having fun in the material world. So he comes once every day of the demigods, once every day of Lord Brahma. Now for us that's a long time. Lord Brahma lives a very long time. But in terms of the demigods, Krishna's coming every day. In other words, he wants us to come back to him. The only problem is we don't want to go back to him. So that's what this day is all about, developing this desire to want to reconnect back to Krishna and to go back home, back to Godhead. Now, this is an important thing. Srila Prabhupada said you can become Krishna conscious in a moment, immediately. They're having fun next door, aren't they? I wish I was in that party. That sounds more fun than this one. This one's all philosophical and boring and a bit heavy. I want to go and join the children. So what is stopping us? We can become Krishna conscious in a moment. So why are we not? So one devotee one time asked Srila Prabhupada, who is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna, he said, how can I become a pure devotee? And Prabhupada gave a one-word answer. Does anyone know what that word is? It's good, but it's not correct. Nikunj said chant. It wasn't chant. Does anyone else? Would they like to have a guess? Prabhupada gave a one-word answer.
Desire.
Desire. Very good. Round of applause for Dan and Jaya. Oh, right. Thank you very much. Yes, because you said chant. That is a good thing. But if we don't have a desire to chant, we won't chant. Who's ever picked up their bead bag and their bead bag just feels like it weighs about 3 tons? And you're trying to chant, let alone with love and devotion. It's like with rust and corrosion. It's like, Hare Krishna, because we don't have a strong enough desire. So Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you can become a pure devotee. And he just said desire. We have to have the desire. And the way to get that desire is to associate with others who have that desire. So if you see someone who has a desire to serve Lord Krishna, to worship Lord Krishna, to chant Krishna's names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then you associate that person. And you ask them, how did you get that desire? And you associate with that person and you do what they do. And you will get that desire. Because the thing is, we may be desiring, but we may not be desiring purely. Like, I've said some prayers to Krishna today. But what were my prayers? My prayers are, please Krishna, help it get to midnight really quickly so I can break my fast. Or, please Lord Krishna, when will this man stop speaking so we can get on to the next part of Janmashthami? Or I was thinking, I was praying to Krishna, please Krishna, they're being too noisy, offering the plates of fruit. I can't concentrate on my class. I'm being facetious, of course, but the point is, we may be praying to Krishna, we may be desiring Krishna, but we may be desiring other things. Please help me to pass my degree. Please help me to get a new job. Please help me to get a promotion at work. Please help my children to pass their exams. That's a little more selfless, because at least we're praying for someone else. But it's still not praying for pure devotion. And therefore, we may remember in the Mahabharata when Draupadi was being disrobed by the Kauravas. She was hanging on to her sari. They were, pulling her sari away from her. And they were, insulting her, offending her, and committing a great crime. But she was hanging on to the sari, thinking, no, I will stop them pulling away this sari. But they were Maharajas, they had the strength of 10,000 elephants, so strong, pulling away this sari. So she put one hand in the air and said, hey Krishna, hey Govinda. But Krishna didn't come, because she was still hanging on to the sari. This went on for some time, but eventually she realized, what can I do? And she put both her arms in the air, hey Krishna, hey Govinda. And she chanted sincerely, in a hopeless and a helpless state of mind. And at that point, Krishna, he incarnated as her sari. And he kept her dignity intact. So this is like us, we're praying to Krishna, but we're still holding on to our material desires. Yes, Krishna, please, I want you, I want to love you. But, I still want to go, and enjoy the material world. I still want to have a nice house. I still want to have a nice wife. I still want to have a nice family. I still want to live the high life, whatever it is. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong. We're not saying we have to be a pauper. There's nothing wrong with being wealthy or doing well in the world. But Krishna won't give us those things if they're going to take us away from him. There are some devotees, like Ambarish Prabhu. He is the great-grandson of Henry Ford. Actually, right now he has some health problems. But he is a multi-millionaire. And he's a devotee of Krishna. So now I might be thinking, well, why can't, I don't want to be a multi-millionaire. I just want to be able to pay my bills. I just want to be able to pay the mortgage. That'd be nice, But Krishna, he can give us everything. But he won't give us those things if that's going to distract us. Because if I suddenly win the lottery, I haven't put a ticket on, by the way. We're not supposed to gamble. But Krishna's not going to give me £1 million. Because probably if I got £1 million, I'd probably, I'd say, right, okay, that's enough for Krishna. I'm off on a world cruise and, to hell with Krishna. But if we have a pure desire and we think, yes, if Krishna gives me £1 million, I'm going to donate it all to him. I'm going to build him a beautiful temple here in Newcastle. Then Krishna can give. So the point is, we have to desire purely. Srila Prabhupada said we have to cry like the genuine cry of a baby crying for its mother. Sometimes a baby may cry crocodile tears, But a mother, they recognize when the child really needs them. Sometimes the child's crying, and they're like, they don't really need me. They've got their jigsaw, they've got their book, or nowadays they've got the tablet, right? They're watching Cocomelon on the YouTube. It's okay, they don't need me. But then sometimes you hear that cry, ah! A mother knows that cry. Now I need to go. That's the genuine cry. It's like my daughter. There's a time when children, they only want their mother. When they get a bit older, they want their father as well. But my daughter, she's at the age now, if she's really in distress, and I say, she doesn't want me, she pushes me away, she wants mum. So we have to cry like the genuine cry of a child for its mother. This is the way we have to chant for Krishna. Let's try it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When we chant in this way, then Krishna will come. Because otherwise he's hearing our chanting and he's thinking, he doesn't really need me. He's got Netflix, he's got his good job, he's got his studies, he's got his girlfriend, he doesn't really need me. Only when we chant with both arms up in the air like Draupadi, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. At that point, Krishna becomes the swift deliverer. Then he comes for us. Now, we're going to try and wrap this up. But the point is, when we chant like this, Krishna can come immediately. Maybe in the middle of Kirtan. Maybe when we have our midnight Kirtan tonight, Vasu Shresht will just suddenly disappear. And Unimaya, and we'll all say, what happened to Vasu Shresht? And we'll say, he chanted so sincerely, Krishna was the swift deliverer, and he's just taken him back home, back to Godhead. Please don't do that, because we need you to play the Madanga, so at least wait till the end of the Kirtan. But Krishna, he can deliver us like this. Now, one thing we read in the purport is that all of these auspicious signs were there. It said all directions the atmosphere was of peace and prosperity, without police sirens. Auspicious stars were visible in the sky, the rivers were beautifully flowing with water, the lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers. Everything was auspicious, everything was wonderful. And so that's because even though Krishna appeared at midnight, it said that the lotus flowers were blooming. Usually they don't bloom during the daytime. But everything was perfectly arranged for Krishna. So it's just like when someone important is coming to visit our house. Like most of the time, my house is a bit of a mess because I've got 2 small children. But when someone's coming to visit, we clean up, right? And my mum's coming to visit on Friday. So I'm going to have to make sure I clean my house because my mum's coming, right? So what to speak of if the Supreme Lord is coming? everyone was making sure everything was perfectly auspicious for the appearance of the Supreme Lord. So this atmosphere is created by everyone coming together in a spirit of cooperation to try to please Krishna. So today, all of us are here for the same reason. We've all come to worship Krishna. We've all come to glorify Krishna. We've all come to chant Krishna's names. And if every single one of us comes together with this same mood of trying to please Krishna, and especially trying to please Krishna's devotees, because even more important than glorifying Krishna is glorifying Krishna's devotees. Krishna says, one who says he is my devotee is not actually my devotee. The one who says he is the devotee of my devotee, he is actually my devotee. So it's more pleasing to Krishna when we serve his devotees. The example is there of love me, love my dog. If you meet someone, even if it's a complete stranger, and they've got a dog with them, if you say, oh, what a beautiful dog you've got, such a luxurious coat, he looks so healthy and so happy, and you start stroking that dog, what do you think the man will do? He'll be happy, right? He won't say, who are you to touch my dog? Get out of here. No, love me, love my dog. If you show some affection to the dog, immediately the man says, oh, I love my dog so much, and this person is showing affection for my dog. Any friend of my dog's is a friend of mine. So in the same way, we're like Krishna's dogs. We're like Krishna's servants. That's why we wear these tulsi beads. Mine are broken at the moment, but you see many of the devotees are wearing tulsi beads around the neck. This is like a dog collar. This is saying that we have a master. A good dog has a good master. If you have a good master, you get all your meals, you're looked after, you look healthy and happy. One time Prabhupada was walking on the beach in Bombay, and there was one very healthy, happy-looking dog. Now in India, you don't generally see nice-looking dogs, right? They're usually kind of strays, they're on the streets, they hang around with each other. Sometimes they're missing an ear or a leg, or they're missing half their tail, right? I've seen that when you go to India. But then they saw this wonderful-looking dog, because in England, people keep dogs as pets, right? In India, not so much, right? The dogs are just there on the streets. But they saw this wonderful-looking dog, and Prabhupada said, what do you notice about this dog? What does this mean? And the devotees, they didn't really know to answer. He said, it means this dog has a master. And therefore, he looks happy and he looks healthy. So in the same way, when we have a master, Lord Sri Krishna, and when we accept Lord Krishna as our master, not in a way that he's the master and we're the servants and he's just ordering us what to do. No, a spiritual relationship is based on love. We develop this loving mood of service towards Krishna, and Krishna, he loves us even more and he serves us even more. So, we're just going to conclude this now. Material world means we all tune into the radio station WIIFM. People don't really listen to the radio nowadays, but you know, Radio 1 used to be like 97.9 FM. So the material world, everyone is tuned into WIIFM. What is WIIFM? What's in it for me? WIIFM. What's in it for me? Are you going to come to the temple today? Yeah, what's in it for me? Are you going to come here to this place? Yeah, what's in it for me? Is it going to please me? But the spiritual world is WIIFK. What's in it for Krishna? It's a different state of consciousness. So when we all come together like this to glorify Krishna, this creates such a wonderful mood, such a wonderful atmosphere when we're all trying to serve Krishna together. And this is the way that we can understand the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and activities. And this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, and we will finish with this quote. This is chapter 18, text 55. Bhaktiman abhijanati yavan yashchasmi tattva. Tatoma tattvato gyatva vishate tad anantara. Krishna says, one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Shri Krishna Janmashthami Mahamahotsav ki. Lord Shri Krishna's appearance ki. Lord Krishna appearing within our own heart and mind ki. Nitai Gaura Premanande. So yes, in summary, if one can understand the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and activities, one is immediately eligible to go back to Krishna. And the way one can understand the transcendental nature of Krishna's appearance and activities is by engaging in devotional service. When we engage in devotional service, this creates a wonderful atmosphere of peace and prosperity with no sirens. And the best way to worship and glorify the Lord is to chant His holy names sincerely, like the genuine cry of a child for its mother. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you so much for your kind attention. We are going to hand over now to Dhananjaya Prabhu, who is going to be singing a beautiful song glorifying Lord Krishna. Dhananjaya gave me a look there when I said a beautiful song. I've not heard it, but Dhananjaya is a beautiful devotee, so he always sings beautiful songs. So we're going to hand over to Dhananjaya, and then after the song, Dhananjaya Prabhu is going to be taking us through a Krishna quiz.